And welcome to the Confound Millennial, starring Steven Stirvin Michaels. And, well, Ryan Diamonds isn't here today. That's because he sucks. I'm kidding. He's at work. Love you, Ryan. But, anyways, featuring special guest, singer, songwriter, YouTube personality, MMA fighter. That one might not be true, but certified badass Lauren Babic. Hey, Lauren, what's up?
Oh, there I am. Hello. Thank you for having me on the show. I
Thanks for
love this
coming
setup.
back. It's been a minute. It's been like 2-3 years since last had you on, and let me tell you, that was rough on my end. Thank you for coming on at the time.
Yeah, that it's been a hot minute, but it's like I'm actually able to watch the show in real time, which is super cool. So,
Thank you.
this
I
is
really
awesome.
we've upgraded. We've upgraded a lot, man. When I first had you on, I knew so little about technology. That's really was the premise of the beginning of the show was just I wanted a podcast and I shouldn't have had a podcast, so I did it. But we literally had a cell phone up to a microphone with you on it.
You know what? Whatever works. I always say like we want to do what we want to do and then we learn as we go. So, I
Yeah,
feel that.
like I'm far from arriving to where I want to be, but like I'm amazed like daily at the progress that I make throughout this.
Absolutely. As you should be. I mean, I think that that's a good way to like enjoy the journey for sure.
As long as like the way I look at things, as long as you're getting a little better at what you want to do every day, you're making progress and you're living a good life.
Absolutely. I feel the same way.
So, let's see here. There's a lot to cover because you do a lot of things.
There's a lot of things.
How do
It's
you
very
even
difficult.
how do you even balance like you're the front person of two bands, you pump out covers all the time, and you're constantly on social media promoting yourself. How do you balance it all?
I think it's partially like because it's what I love doing. So, the cliche like if you do something you love, it's like not a job. So, it's something I enjoy. But the balance part, I think what I've learned is I just have to do what I feel like doing in that moment, otherwise it does feel like it can feel like a chore or I might get burnt out. So, I kind of decide, like, on the daily, like, "Okay, what do I wanna do right now? I'm gonna do that because I want to do that, and I feel passionate about that right now, so I'm gonna do that." So, I never try and force anything out of myself, or at least try not to, 'cause I've learned that that's a very good way of burning out. So, I just kinda take every day, in stride and do what I want on the daily.
Yeah, you got to avoid burnout. That's actually been a really big thing me and my friend groups have been talking about because we're all just going ham at all the stuff we're up to. But like the moment you burn out, like the thing you love, it could take you 2 months to get back to it.
Oh, it's so true. And that's why I take touring very seriously because, that's the one sort of area in the music industry that, like, I will never overdo it because I know, just, like, the mental toll it can take, the physical toll it can take, so it's so important to just keep yourself in check about burnout because it can take you out for, like, 6 months, honestly.
Exactly. It you know, I couple months ago I hit burnout and I got physically sick. I
Mhm.
lost my voice, couldn't podcast for a little bit. It was awful.
Yeah, it's serious, especially when it manifests physically, and that's exactly what happened to me, um, on this past tour in August, um, because I got COVID at the very beginning, and then I had to do the whole tour while recovering from COVID, and as a singer, that's a nightmare, and when I got home, it's almost like my body just gave up, and it got even more sick when I got home. So, it pretty much took me out for 2.5 months. Um, so I feel that so hard.
Wow. I was going to ask, like, because I hear people talk about all the good stuff about tour, and you were talking about avoiding burnout on it. I was going to ask, like, what's the roughest part of tour? But obviously, you just answered it, getting sick and pushing through it.
Yeah. Generally, as a singer, it's already more difficult than any other role on tour because, your instrument is part of your body. So, if you're not healthy and you're forcing yourself to sing every night, It is it can be detrimental. Like, I remember the very last show in Phoenix, Arizona. It was in August, like August 13th or something, and it was a sold out 500-person show, and it was Halocine's hometown show, and I woke up that morning with a massive throat infection. Like, I looked in my throat, and I was like, "Really? For the last show? Like, you couldn't just hold out?" And, like, as the show went on, I could feel my throat swelling and swelling and swelling, and then I went for the low note, I think the low scream in, Toxicity, because we played Toxicity, and nothing came out. Absolutely nothing. So I turned around and I was like, "Addie, it's over, like, the screams are gone." And she's like, "It's fine, I get it." So you really like, touring for a singer, you're just constantly in survival mode. And it doesn't feel good a lot of the time because 'cause you're just constantly checking like, "Okay, how do I feel? How's my voice? Am I hydrated?" It's very stressful because you wanna put on a good show for everyone that comes out, so it there's a lot of pressure that you put on yourself, and it can be very taxing.
And we were talking about this, and I forgot for a second, like, that you scream and stuff, and that's got to be even harder with wrecked vocal cords and voice and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how my voice works because depending on how I'm feeling on any given day, certain like, elements of my voice will be better than others. So, if I'm a little more tired than usual, my low screams will be very good because my larynx is, like, sunk in a little bit. So I'll hit these, like, brutal lows, but then my high screams won't be as good, and then on other days, like, my high singing will be really good, my belts will be very open, but then my screams won't be very good, so it's this really awkward ebb and flow every day of like, "Okay, how do I feel? Alright, this is working really well, so we're just gonna roll with that." Like, touring is very, very much an ebb and flow for sure.
Have you ever had to cancel a show due to voice issues?
Um, Once, or no, a couple times due to specifically voice issues, but on this past tour in August, we had to cancel 4 shows because we all had COVID, so that
Hmm.
that was a cancellation for a different reason, but I've only ever in my life canceled 2 shows because of specifically vocal issues, and that was, just before COVID hit, in 2020. Red Handed, Denial went on a West Coast tour, we played, like, 8 shows, and then we got home, and we immediately started tracking our album, So I didn't allow myself that grace period for my vocal cords to heal and sort of decompress. And in the studio, I just it just completely didn't happen. Like nothing was coming out, which was the first time I'd experienced that. So, we thought that we could go jump into an album for 2 weeks and then go play 2 shows a week later, and I was like, "Guys, this is not good." Like, I something's gotta give here. So, it was like a Toronto show and a Montreal show that we canceled in 2020, but thankfully they weren't like high stakes shows, so it wasn't too bad. It felt bad though. I mean, you kind of feel like you're letting everyone down, but you gotta be kind to yourself.
Exactly. It's really, when we first talked, I lived in Georgia. And so I got to see shows in Atlanta and stuff all the time. Since then, I've moved up to Kentucky.
Okay.
Nobody ever comes through here. I got to see Capstan one time. And then I was supposed to go to Louder Than Life Festival 2 years in a row. I had buddies from the podcast that were going to get me guest passes.
Okay.
And uh, the first year, my friend's dad got COVID, so he had to cancel because it was pretty bad. And then this year, um, Matt Mingus of Dance Gavin Dance was going to get me in, and because we've been friends for a while and we hadn't actually met, and uh, John Mess's voice went out, and so I had to skip it again. And I guess I'm just not destined to go to any concerts now that I'm
Man,
in Kentucky.
it must I mean, Kentucky's like the middle of the country, right?
Yeah, it's
I
middle
wouldn't
of the
know.
country, east side.
Okay. I think there's probably a reason because like the middle of the country is very difficult to route to. I know that as the resident Canadian on your podcast,
Yeah,
my US geography is not that great, but um I know that when tours route, the middle of the country is like a dead zone because it's long drives for little payoff, I guess. So
yeah, it's
it makes sense that festivals are nearby, but not tours. So that
yeah.
I get that.
When I went and saw Capstan, it was in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is about an hour and a half away, but uh, there still is not much there either.
Yeah, it's usually Columbus.
Hmm.
Usually
Which is a
Columbus
little
is the
bit
place.
farther from me.
Yeah.
I literally am in the middle of nowhere.
Well, at least it's not like Nebraska or something.
Speaking of, you mentioned being the resident Canadian. How friggin' cold is it up there? Because I'm freezing right now in Kentucky.
It's actually quite beautiful. I don't know the conversion, but right now I think it's like in Celsius like 13 or something. Oh, it's 8 degrees. That is significantly colder than I thought. Let's check Fahrenheit. It is 46 degrees,
Okay, it
which is
is
not that bad.
somehow warmer there than it was here this morning.
I'm telling you, it's deceiving. People like think Canada and then they think like, "Oh, it must be -50 up there," but we get up to the hundreds up here. We had a really nice summer, like, it was beautiful. We had, like it was, like, consistently, like, 90 degrees, 85, 90, um, but it gets pretty wild in the winter. It's the extreme polar opposites that we get. We get all of it.
Nice. You know, it's just this feels like we get summer and winter here. Back in Georgia, we had all the seasons, but uh, of me babbling about the weather, like real small talk here. How's the weather?
How's that weather up in Canada?
But so you just recently got off tour with Halocene, right?
Yes,
Just a
that
couple months
was
ago.
yeah, I got home around August 16th, so, like, mid-August.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how is how is that? Like, how is working with Halocene? Like, how'd you even get into that?
So it's a funny story, like, because I have so many facets to my music endeavors, but, like, pretty much when Addie was pregnant with their son, like, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago or something, I, like, found a video of theirs, and I was like, "Oh, they're really cool." And I commented, and I was like, "Yo, like, we should do something together." And then Addie replied, "Oh, let's talk about that when I'm not pregnant anymore." And I was like, "Alright." And then some time went by, and then they finally reached out, after I did Happy Song with First to 11, um, and then they were like, "Let's do, like, a double cover, Chop Suey and I believe it was I'm So Sick by Flyleaf." Um, they were like, "Yeah, this is super overdue." So we kinda just started with, those 2, and it was right around the pandemic hit, um, and because everyone was home, it just exploded. So we just kept working together, and we've become really good friends, and eventually they were like, "You know what? We should try and bring our little posse to the live stage." And I was like, "Hell yeah, I'm in." But, I've only toured in my with my band. Like, I don't have a band to back my stuff. So then they were like, "Well, Halocene can just be the backing band to both you and Violet, and we can make a super group." And I was like, "That's sick. I'm so in because no one's doing that." So it was basically a 2-hour show with all of us on stage, and it was the coolest thing and the most unique thing that I've ever been a part of, 'cause it kind of felt like a rap show almost, because we would, like, trade off on vocals, we would some of us would take the lead on one song, and then we would step back, and then another person so we had vocal breaks during it, like, we could just jam out for some songs, and it was, like, the perfect set to just have fun, and, we could lean on each other vocally. So, it was the coolest thing ever, much lower stress than what I'm used to. Um, so it kinda just evolved, and then here we are, like, 3 years later post-pandemic, and we've become really good friends. I'm actually going to hang out with them this weekend in Nashville. Gonna hang out. So, yeah, it's kind of just evolved into this wonderful friendship, and they're amazing, and I've met so many people through them, and we've made so many connections through each other.
That's really awesome. And like I love when people talk about having shows that they can just enjoy, being a part of.
Yeah.
Um, but so you just got off tour with them. Uh, Now I didn't study on this next question, but any plans of a red-handed denial tour anytime soon, or
Yeah. So, we're doing a 3-show run in a couple weeks up here, in, like, southern central Canada. So, we're doing Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal. Because of the pandemic, we've had, um, like, getting across the border and processing times for visas has been an absolute nightmare. Like, there's been delays up to, 8 to 12 months, during the pandemic, which is, um, partially why we haven't been able to come over, and also border restrictions and flying restrictions, because we have a member in the band who unfortunately had, a really severe side effect to the vaccine. So, he's not able to be fully vaccinated. Um, so that alone has caused, a lot of hindrance for us to come to the US. But 2023 is looking very good because a lot of the stuff is changing, and he's feeling comfortable doing it. So um we should be there in 2023.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, Sad news I just thought of. I met you at a show probably 3 years ago or so. Cloud Springs Deli. You remember
No.
that?
That was the I will never forget that show.
They closed.
No, they didn't.
They did.
That place is legendary. That's like a rite of passage. You can't be in a touring metalcore band if you don't play Cloud Springs Deli.
It was the most beautiful
Oh,
show I've ever been to.
I literally ran sound for Left to Suffer. That is I can officially say that. Shout out to Left to Suffer, but
What's up, Taylor?
exactly.
Yeah, I
I
met him
remember
at that show too, and man, he is a busy guy. We've been trying to schedule another episode for a while, and just he's always doing something, man.
he's always doing something.
He's going at it.
He's one of the best like screamers that I've ever seen. And I I've played with a lot of bands like on tour. I've played a lot of shows, and that show is so memorable. Um Partially because it's freaking Cloud Springs Deli, but also that was the first time I had ever met the dudes from Left to Suffer. And that show I was like, "Oh my god, these guys are going to be fucking huge." And they're killing it. They're absolutely killing it. I'm so happy for them. Such a memorable show. But
I
that's
need to
really
hear
sad.
you and Taylor on a track together.
Yes. I would love that. I wanna make that happen.
But that was I told Taylor about this, but that was one of the funniest moments in my life too, was him playing there because one of the openers was at the time they were just a two-piece instrumental band called Tempest, friends of mine since I was a kid. And that's why I went there, was they were opening for y'all. And his parents, who are very reserved conservative
Oh, no.
Christians, were there, and Taylor gets up there. All right, I want to see everybody tear this goddamn place apart, fuck some shit up. And their eyes,
Oh
when
god.
he started going in on that, I just started howling
That's so funny.
laughing.
Especially with his low screams, they probably, like, said a little prayer. "Where are we? What are we doing here?"
That's how you knew that those parents really loved their kids, to go out there and sit through Left to Suffer just to support their sons.
I love that. I love that for them, though, like, they got to experience that.
So, um, how's the reactions been to the new Red Handed album?
It's been solid. Like, the reception to Red Handed always continues to surprise me because, like, we're just some random people from Toronto, Canada, and, with this band that I've been in since I was 17, like, I've never really had expectations of, like, you know, anything crazy. I've always just enjoyed the moment and truly just wanted to make music that I wanted to make. And any person in the world who's like, "Yeah, that's sick." I'm like, "You're cool. You're cool as fuck." Because, like, I Red Handed's a band that, like, I don't write for it to, like, cater to anyone. Like, I don't care. It's solely for us and solely for me, like, the things that I write. So I'm continuously surprised when, random people be like, "Yo, I like your band." Because usually, like, people find me through, like, covers or whatever, but when people find me through, Red Handed, I'm like, "You're cool as fuck. Like, you're the coolest person ever." So, I'm so proud of the new album, and it it really came from a dark place and a dark period of time, and I'm just here to enjoy the ride with that band because, like, they're my homies, like, they're my best friends, and we're gonna do it as long as we want and as long as we can, so it's been awesome. I can't ask for anything more. It's just been awesome.
That is awesome. And I'm really surprised that I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad you've kind of popped off with the covers and stuff lately, but I'm surprised that your covers have popped off more than Red Handed Denial has, because Red Handed Denial is just so good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think with covers, like, when you do a metal cover of, like, a song that everyone and their mother knows, of course, you're gonna get, like, much more reception and shares and people talking about it. It's so hard to sell people a progressive, um, metal band from Toronto, Ontario with a female vocalist. Um, it's a tough sell because, like, our music isn't exactly the most palatable. It's not as palatable as Britney Spears, I will say. So, in a way, I'm not surprised because, we are niche as fuck. Like, we're niche as fuck. Like, you take a song like, um, I don't know, Marked with a Curse, for example, or Saint, and you're not gonna sell that to your dad who likes Metallica, you know? They're
Yeah.
not gonna like that. So, even to a lot of metal fans, it's a tough sell because it's so niche, and, I think the coolest part about the band is I like being I almost enjoy being the severely underrated band because anyone who likes the band, again, is cool as fuck. Like, you belong to a very small club, and I like you a lot. So, I just enjoy the ride, and I get it, but everyone who likes the band, you're my favorite.
But so we were talking about like different friends that you've made throughout your music, and you were talking just now about like well, first I want to say before I get to that, I'm surprised I didn't hear about you through the metal covers first, because I eat that shit up, man. Whenever, like, if I get down and I need a good laugh, I'll just start playing some Pop Goes Punk or
Hell
whatever.
yeah.
Like, to this day, like when I was in high school, somebody came out with a uh who was it? It was, I've never heard of them again other than this cover, but it was Surrender the Dance Floor, and they did a Lady Gaga cover, and I laughed my ass off constantly.
Yes.
It was beautiful, and like I love things that don't sound like they should sound right
I love
together.
that. That is, like, half my career. Like, and I think the most important part is not to take yourself seriously because, like, I'm not gonna make a cover of Toxic by Britney Spears for you to take it seriously. I'm gonna do it because I want it to be stupid. Like, the I use that song as an example because it literally has the most absurd, like, deathcore breakdown in the middle, but
Well, I think you had just done it recently when we last talked, because that was the song that I used to promote it.
oh, hell yeah, okay, so it probably did come out around that time, but that's my favorite part about doing, covers in general is that you can be stupid about it, and people
Mhm.
will laugh. It will make people's day, and people will come back and be like, "Yo, look at this. This is so funny. This is sick." Like, I think that's why I like doing covers so much, because you can not only breathe fresh air into a song, but also you can just lighten up someone's day.
Yeah.
And, like, for example, and I'm sure we were gonna talk about this at some point because it's close to Halloween, and,
Mhm.
for literally 6 to 7 years, every year, people are like, "Make a metal version of This Is Halloween," and I'm like, "No, like, I hate that song. I am not a Nightmare Before Christmas fan." I and I'm very public about that. My friends make fun of me. They're like, "How can you think that?" I'm like, "I hate it. It's terrible." So, Chris in my band, he had a version of it, like, instrumental, and it kinda slapped. Like, it was very much a Red Handed Denial-esque version of it. So I was like, "Oh god, fine, fine," but only because I like Chris's arrangement. So, I'm literally working on the video, like, today, and, um, I'm having a blast even though I hate this song. It is the most fun I've had in a while because I am not taking there's not an ounce of seriousness in this project at all. So, it's bringing me a lot of joy to bring the amount of absurdity that I'm bringing to this cover. Um, so that's why I do what I do, because it's fun for me.
I love hearing that too, because like, there's some, like, I don't know, like, you hear Chris's guitar and you know it's Chris.
Exactly.
Like, he's just got this unique sound that, and way of playing that you just know, like, "Oh, that's Chris right there."
Exactly, and, we covered "Telephone" by Lady Gaga with the band, um, and it's Red Handed Denial's highest streamed song, which, I expected that, but
It's
it's
because
so
Spotify shoved it down my throat, like, every
Oh,
3
really?
songs.
Oh my god. But you can just tell that Chris produced it, and I love that about the band, and I love that about Chris because he's such a formative member of the band. Like, Red Handed Denial wouldn't be the band if it wasn't for Chris, um, because of just his way of interpreting, um, guitar. It's so unique, I've never heard that in my life, and I'm just such a Chris fan that I'm like, literally, he made me do a cover of This Is Halloween because I'm such a fan of Chris. So it's his fault. I'm blaming him.
Put all the blame on Chris, man.
Putting the blame on Chris.
But, I don't know, I love the silly, goofy stuff, the sounds that don't mix. That's why I'm such like, all my friends hate me for being a huge Dance Gavin Dance fan, but Tillion's, like, making you wanna cry your heart out, and John Mess is singing about riding a
Broccoli.
rhino, Pico de Gallo, like, what the
Yep.
fuck?
That is such I get that. You sing about broccoli, singing about, you know, God knows what. That's actually my favorite part about Dance Gavin Dance too, just how just it doesn't make sense, but it works.
Yeah, and people, like, when I try to describe it, they're like, "So kinda like System of a Down?" I'm like, "No, much worse."
Much worse, but I get that reference, I actually get it. However, no, it's much worse. I get
It's
that.
on another level, man.
Another level of just what the fuck is
So
happening.
speaking about being on another level and bands that are on another level, so here's the big question.
I know what you're gonna
Crazy
ask.
88 on pause or something?
Well, we're not, um, but it's worth noting that the band was always an online band. So, um, myself, Patty, and Jared are all from different countries. And, Patty's in As It Is. Jared is now running his, media company, Baketo, and I'm doing a million things. So, um, it's in the works, but it's not any of ours like first priority. So we'll do it when we're ready. Like we are ready. It's just we have to actually do it. And we
I need
will.
to I need to get all
We will.
three of you on here when you come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mainly because secret time?
Yeah,
Secret time. Don't tell anybody, Lauren.
I won't.
Patty Walters was my first man crush.
Who hasn't had a man crush on Patty though?
And then second man crush was immediately after Benjamin Langford Biss. uh like just as soon as they walked on stage, I'm like, hey, that's a good looking guy. Hey, that's a
That's a good
better
looking
looking
dude.
guy.
But yeah, that makes sense. I mean, who hasn't had a crush on Patty at some point? He is a very handsome man. He's also such a sweetheart. I miss him dearly. I haven't seen him in a very long time. But um yeah, we got to get all of us on the show.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love that because Crazy 88 is so good. Like all of you guys and your individual things are so good, but when you come together, like it's awesome.
Thank you. It's such a cool super group, honestly. Like you get Jared's knowledge of like Warp Tour, the Warp Tour era, and then you bring in like, you know, my post-hardcore dreams and and then you get Crazy 88. And it was such a unexpected project to pop off cuz we were just doing it for fun. Literally just doing it for fun. Cuz Jared has a million parody bands and he was like, "I want to do a band that's not a parody for once." And I was like, "Okay, let's do it." So we again didn't have any expectations and people just absolutely loved what we put together with Burning Alive and the first version of Shine Box. And um I know Jared has like a couple demos cuz I know that we're going to do a couple singles pretty soon. But yeah, we're not dead. We're just waiting. We're waiting
Good
for
to
the
hear.
moment.
Awesome. And earlier I had meant to say this. I wanted to know like how in the world did you let's see here. How do I word this? How did you cross paths with Bill Murray?
Oh, wow.
Like,
Um
because I've noticed you guys have done a lot of stuff together, and a lot of people that I listen to have done a lot of stuff with him, but he doesn't sound like any of the bands that he does stuff with.
yeah, so Johnny is one of my favorite people. And how did this connection happen? So it was through Jared. So Jared knew Johnny. Um and we actually tracked all of Burning Alive at Johnny's studio with Johnny. So that's kind of my first acquaintance with him was in July of 2018, 2017, 2018, something like that. The year that Croatia went to the finals and played France in like World Cup or Euro Cup. I know that. Um but we tracked all Burning Alive with Johnny. Um and that was sort of my first acquaintance with him, and he's just such a good producer. Um he's incredible, and he mixed the first Crazy 88 EP and both covers EPs as well. So it was through Jared, and through that like Johnny produces like the odd cover song for me. And we've done like a few covers together, like Bad Romance, Lady Gaga, and Young Blood, 5 Seconds of Summer. Um but yeah, he's he's just been a really good to work with and a really awesome person, so we've kept in touch. And through him, I was able to sort of get acquainted with Lee Albrecht, who I work with a lot, and also Will Carlson. So yeah, it's just funny how the world works. Like you get to like through one person, you meet another person, and you kind of branch out that way.
Like, you don't
Like
realize how small the world is till you start
yeah,
getting out there and meeting people.
I probably never have. I never would have worked with Jonathan Young if I never met Johnny Frank. And then through Johnny, I met Lee, and through Lee, I worked with Jonathan. So it was like this huge web. It's awesome.
It's like the degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Exactly.
You know, everybody to 6 degrees, and it's so true. But I've actually talked a lot about the music and stuff. I almost forgot that my co-host would kill me if I didn't go through our three staples: music, magic, mental health, and then we'll wrap this up. Music, we've already talked about that, so we're good. Magic, uh, really refers to Magic the Gathering because
Okay,
I'm
I
a
figured.
huge nerd. But any nerdum at all, like what do you nerd out about other than music? Like a weird game or D&D, or even if you're just like, man, I love building decks, like porches. Like I'm stain, nails, I love it.
Carpentry. No. So as of the past like year and a half, um, I was unfortunately introduced to League of Legends. Unfortunately. So like the past year and a half, it's been primarily League of Legends. And any like branch of it, like the show, Arcane, absolutely loved it. And we now have like a Discord server um called Clash or Pass, and we get these little teams together every other weekend and we play the Clash tournament in a league. And I don't know, we've just built this like really cute nerd community on Discord, and now we play like we've resurrected Among Us for whatever reason, but now we're playing that a lot again. I've started playing Stardew Valley again, like religiously. I think I have like almost 500 hours in that game. Yeah, it's wild.
Wow.
Um, I love Pokemon, obviously. Um, as you
Yeah,
can see.
that was my next question is I haven't seen you post anything about your son lately, Snorlax.
Yeah, he's been sleeping a lot. Um, so there hasn't really been a lot of content because he's just always sleeping. But yeah, I have a lot of Pokemon everything. I'm mostly a collector in terms of like memorabilia and the cards. I wish I knew how to actually play the card game, but
No,
I
you don't.
mostly I mostly go for master sets. Like I'm a master set collector. I'll choose a set and I'm like, okay, I'm committing um all my money to getting every card of one set. But yeah, I love collecting Pokemon cards. I would say that's been the longest and most money spent on one thing for sure.
But you're not really missing anything knowing how to play the game. Well, unless you really do spend a lot of money on the cards, because like I hate playing the card game. Like I like the cards, but I hate the game
I
because
heard that.
it in Magic, like I play with a deck that I've had for years with my buddies, but with Pokemon, you pretty much can only play standard, is what it's
Right.
called, and that's within the last year of
Yeah,
cards
you
being
have to
released.
get new cards. You can't just play a set that you like.
And the power ramp is so crazy. I had a Garchomp deck 3 years ago that was unstoppable. I won 100% of the time with it. Last year, I pulled that to play with a buddy of mine that had kept going, lost every round. didn't even stand a chance.
Yeah. I think that's where Magic just is better. It always has been. And that is a realm that I know is very fun and very rewarding. But I already have a money pit, so I can't introduce myself to another money pit because I'm a person who will go all in. And I know a lot of people who play Magic. I know um they love it, and I'm like, I just can't because
Just do me one favor. Next time you go to a store that happens to sell cards, Walmart or whatever, if they have a set of Unfinity, just get one pack.
okay,
They're
can never get
ridiculous
one.
cards. They just came out and it's like a spoof on itself.
Okay.
Like I bought it for the stickers. It came with stickers that you can put on other people's cards in that set.
You were here for the stickers, which is I feel that. Sometimes sometimes I buy, like, Pokemon stuff just for, like, the other things in it, like
And
the little figurines or the pins.
yeah, or the coins and
Yeah.
pins. But I usually also talk about mental health and stuff, but I don't want to be a downer. We've had a really good really up
That's okay. I mean,
conversation
if we
today.
wanna talk about mental health, everyone can just go listen to the new Red Handed Denial album
Basically.
because that's all about mental health. So, we
Like
can
my
have a
first
footnote.
favorite song by Red Handed Denial was Trespasser because of that.
Yeah, and that is a really dark song. There's many layers to that one. But, yeah, I write about mental health a lot, and it's often not on the nose, but there's, like, many layers to the lyrics, so, we can leave a footnote for anyone listening, to go listen to "I'd Rather Be Asleep" and make your own conclusions about it, and hopefully you can connect to it if you're struggling with anything.
Mhm. So, last thing on the to do list or checklist is websites. Where do we go to find all things Lauren Babic?
Um, well, there's a lot of them, but I recently made a link tree, and you could find my link tree on my Instagram, and you could just go to um at Lauren Babic on Instagram and click the link in my bio, and you'll be referred to my Spotify. You can find a link to my band, Red Handed Denial, my YouTube page, everything you could find just by typing my name, Lauren Babic.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
I realized that that's another thing I had mentioned that since the last time we talked, you had just gotten verified on Instagram and stuff.
True.
And now this time I went to make sure, or I went to like pull a picture for one of the songs that I played, and you're right there. Google correct or auto filled the rest of your name.
Thankfully, I'm more findable than last time. So, um,
It's scary how findable I am. I don't like it.
yeah,
I'm the only person in the world that goes by Stirvin. So
I've given up on the whole like don't you know don't post personal things online because it's like if they want to find you, they're gonna find you. It it's over for us. So
I just hate that people can find the early episodes of this show.
it's okay. People can find early covers of mine when I was like 17 and not able to sing yet. So I feel
'Cause
that.
did I tell you the first microphone I started out with?
Which
We had a
microphone?
Guitar Hero mic.
Oh wow, that's cool.
It was awful, but it's what we had. We had a laptop that I had in college and a Guitar Hero microphone, and that's where the dream started.
Is that I assume it was USB.
Yeah.
Okay. That's but, like, that's a story. Like, that's a good story. So
Well, thank you. I keep it in a You know those like glass dome cases like that Beast has his rose in Beauty
Mhm.
and the Beast?
Yeah, it's like the first
I
it's like a
have that
relic.
microphone in my living room in one of those glass cases.
It is a fossil of a previous time.
Forgotten days.
Yeah. I
Well, Lauren,
recently really wanted to get Guitar Hero again, just as a side
you
note.
too. Like, it's so good. It needs to make a comeback. I know
It
there's
does.
emulators and stuff, but it needs to make an official comeback.
I agree.
Well, I got to get going and back to the real job, but any last words you'd like to say?
Just thank you for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure, and, thank you guys for listening. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. And if you don't mind sticking around after the videos, I got one more thing to say, but after that, we're all good. And this has been the Confound Millennial, starring Steven Stirvin Michaels and featuring Lauren Babic of All Sorts of Things.